My name's Steve, and I've been a member at Norwich Last Stand since 2015, when I actually re-embraced the wargaming, tabletop wargaming hobby through collecting Warhammer 40,000, something that I previously did when I was a kid. Just didn't really have much appreciation of it back then. Got back into it because I was looking for those sort of social avenues and actually really got into the narrative, the lore, and enjoyed the painting and playing of the game. And it was nice because you could switch off, and it didn't involve screens. And as someone who background in computer science, that is a lovely thing. To get away from screens, I loved it. In June 2018, I did unfortunately suffer a traumatic brain injury when I was riding my motorbike. And that left me in a coma for 5 weeks that they weren't too sure if I was even going to wake up from, let alone what the recovery would be like. In the end, I spent 10 weeks in hospital. And when I came out of hospital, I was under the care of Coleman Hospital in Norwich for a lot of rehab, which I needed lots of it. And the one thing that they really championed, and they Steve, what was it you used to do? What were your hobbies prior to all this? And of course, coming to the club and doing this hobby was one of them. Playing tennis, that was another one. They did say I wasn't physically in any condition to play tennis, but they actually said at that point, right, Steve, we want you to go to the club every week. Not necessarily to play the game, but just to be around the people that you used to socialise with. And engage in the hobby that you used to love. And so I did just that. And obviously back then I didn't have any social skills, so that was also a bit of a challenge. Okay, what am I going to do at that point? I was impulsive, I was very disinhibitive. There was just no social skills, there was no filter. Every joke was probably sexual. It was so inappropriate. I look back at it now quite embarrassed, but actually that wasn't my fault. I know that now. But the guys here have been supportive right from the word go. When I came back into the club, it's just always been a case of, hey, welcome back, and it's good they're here, and they've just supported me in going forward and gradually got me back into playing the game. I still enjoy the painting and the doing things, but I think more than that, I've just enjoyed the atmosphere, being in this atmosphere of what I would probably call an extended family of sorts, really, that we're all from different walks of life, but we've all got this same thing in common, and no matter what our lives are, we just switch off from the world for a few hours. We come in here and roll some dice, swear a bit if you need to. And I think, it was just onwards from there. As time went on, I think I began to develop more social filters with input from Coleman Hospital too, who I was under. But they then began to cotton on to the mindfulness of the whole thing. And by mindfulness, I mean, that was a new concept to me back then. But not realising that actually, prior to my accident, that's exactly what I was doing. By coming into this, getting into the narrative, playing the game, switching off, that was mindfulness. And I appreciate that now when I'm painting a model or when I'm playing the game, that I'm just in my own little world, and it doesn't matter what's going on. It's bliss. It's really, really nice. That was subsequently reinforced by the neuropsychologist that was under. So that's actually encouraging neuroplasticity, so your brain's repairing itself. And I was like, really? I did not know all of this. So, and now I look back at the last 3 years in doing that, and the recovery I've made, honestly, I'm thanking this club a lot for the progress that I've made since. It is emotional thinking about it sometimes. If it wasn't for these guys and the support they've been, and accountability too, because there were several members here that I deliberately made myself accountable to for social, I just don't think I'll be in that position. And in 2019, I took over the leadership of the club as a project. Again, with Coleman's guidance again, and I led the club for the last 2.5 years. I've just resigned recently, concluding us running an event for Norfolk and Waveney Mind. So every year we run a charity tournament. COVID did scupper that plans, but we still ran it the year after. Initially, this would have happened last year. But it was amazing to have 32 guys playing the game on the 16th of October, just having a lot of fun for that entire day, and then raising 1,400 quid for Mind was just the pinnacle. Going, what a way to end one's leadership of the club, and yeah, just the atmosphere of that in itself was it was intoxicating for the right reasons. It was a really good thing to do, and the support of businesses, and it's just amazing when that all comes together. So, and I think as a project, that actually probably helped equip me then to get my life back on track, because now I'm working full time for Norfolk and Suffolk Police as a cyber security advisor, and the reason, one reason I had to stand down is I just could not maintain the commitment to the club that I wanted to without jeopardising my role for the police. And I want to give the police my everything, because they've given me a chance, they've been really good to me, and I'm really engaging with the role that I'm in now, and I'm enjoying going out and helping businesses and individuals with cybersecurity and so forth. Now, at the time prior to the accident, I was in the final stages of finishing a PhD at the University of East Anglia in business management, but it had bits of software engineering and computer science as well. And this year I got awarded that PhD. It was a lot of work. It was very hard resuming that, coming forward from after the accident, from a point where I've gone from working 40 hours or so a week on that to not being able to do 20 minutes without massive fatigue. And going forward, fatigue, it's still an issue. I have to deal with that, but I've got support. The police have been really good there. There's charities like Mind, there's another charity in Hellsworth that's helped me, the Pear Tree Fund, who help people with life-changing diagnoses or terminal illnesses, and they've been brilliant too. But last year was a dark place. COVID hit, didn't it? And I was offered the role with the police at the end of last year. That was the highlight. But prior to that, I was still in that final run, that final push to submit the PhDs, to get it done with. And the NHS said, Steve, we'd like you to shield. And I understand the reason for that. I did have lung complications in 2018. They were not taking chances. So I thought, okay, I'll batten the hatches down. It's 12 weeks. So I'll be all right. Come 6 weeks, it was hell. I felt isolated. I was lonely. My wife was a key worker, so she was out every day. It was advised that she takes certain precautions. And it was just weird. We couldn't do things that we would normally have done. Our marriage suffered. It was tough. We then embarked on an emotional skills course together. Fortunately, we come out the other end of that. We're in a good position now. But towards the 10th week of that lockdown, I planned to take my life twice. And the reason I did that is because I just got to the point of, what is the point? That was the question that was going through my head. What is the point of all this? I wish I'd have just snuffed it in 2018, because it would have been a damn sight easier. I didn't know what was going on with this PhD. I didn't know how I was going to submit that. What did it all mean? Was I going to get a job? At the time, I just didn't know any of these questions. The weight was piling on. It was just one thing after another, and it just got too much. I picked up the phone and called a friend. The only reason I did that is because while I was thinking about this and I was planning, and I planned 2 ways I was going to do this, I was just overwhelmed with a sense of feeling selfish. And I've never felt a selfishness like it. And what was going through my family, my wife, my friends, the guys here at this club, what would they all think? And then the thoughts were, you selfish man. What does it achieve? You're only going to hurt those now who are around you. And that was more distressing than the things that actually took me in to wanting to do it. So I found a friend, he will remain nameless. He is a member of the club. I called him and I said, But I literally told him. It just blurted it out. Immediately, there was empathy. He revealed that he'd been there. He understood. And it then started a conversation that lasted quite a while. And in hindsight, it is the best thing that I did, was to pick up the phone and talk to someone. And I'm now in the position that, if anyone feels that way, please speak to someone. Call a friend, call a phone, or just pick up the phone and speak to Samaritans, anyone. Just get it off your chest. And it almost kind of did a bit of an emotional reset. I was then able to go through these thoughts with a psychologist that I was still seeing. And we went through those, and that was tough, but it was needed. But it's a dark place now that I do not want to go back to ever again. I'm comfortable talking about it because I've kind of conditioned myself to talk about it now. I don't want to bury it. No, I think, and actually, I'm aware that there's a lot of people that are in that position, in that boat. It's a position I never thought I'd be in. And charities like Mind, are dealing with that, and they can offer a lot of support. And I think if I can do anything now to help others from going down that route, then please, and just take it from me. Pick the phone up, speak to someone, get the help. It's okay to feel selfish. It is absolutely, in fact, that's a good thing. If you're plotting that and you suddenly feel selfish, that's a good thing. That's the breaks. Go and do something, chat to someone. And so the lockdown progressed. Emotionally, I settled down a bit. That's one way to put it. Got the PhD done. Got awarded it this year. So after all of that, we finally got there. 2 years later than planned, but still, we got there. And we emerged from the lockdown. The club's been in a really strong position. We kept online stuff going. And it's just been a real pleasure to serve the club. And then we had that tournament that I've just mentioned. And I just think now, with what we've been through with COVID and so forth, that at the time when the members voted to choose Mind as the charity, and COVID wasn't even a thing. No one knew about that. But I just think, wow, what an apt choice that actually turned out to be. With the year that we've just had, the year and a half we've just had, that actually this charity, all about mental health, and it's quite clear to me that in the club, mental health is a bit of a priority, and Mind is a charity that means a lot to the members, hence they voted for it. So what an apt choice in the end. And I say £1,400, amazing, and just a great way to end, really. So what has been a very rollercoasterish journey, and my recovery's not done. That's one thing the doctors are always very candid about from the word go, is that this is not overnight, Steve. This will take you years. But as it's going on, it's getting easier, and the support's there, and this club is a massive part of that, and this hobby is too. So at the time of the accident, my wife, from that particular day, she has told me how it unfolded for her, and she said that there was a lot of knocking on the door, quite loud knocking on the door, and she just got out of the shower, so she wasn't in any hurry to answer it. But it wasn't going away. But at the time she came downstairs, a police officer had let themselves in through the back door, which was open. And she said at that point she knew what it was about. Like, she had a sixth sense. She knew something bad had happened. And they didn't waste any time. They told her that she had to get a bag, probably an overnight bag at most. But they need to get her to Addenbrooke's Hospital very quickly, because they think she needs to identify her husband. I can't imagine how she would have felt at that moment in time. And then she had a friend with her, and they both got sped on blues down to Cambridge thinking that they were coming to identify a corpse. Thankfully, I was alive. But at the scene, the police were informed by the ambulance and the air ambulance that they don't think I was going to survive the accident because it was very, very bad. I had gone through a wall head first. I had 3 bleeds on the brain, and they didn't expect me to make it through that day. And I can't imagine the journey she went on then, because I was in a coma. I was in bliss in a land of nod. I didn't have a clue what was going on. I didn't have a clue that I was on ECMO for 3 weeks because of a lung complication. I didn't have a clue that I had C. diff because I picked that up in hospital, apparently. I didn't even hear my wife insulting me when she saw me. Obviously, I've got selective hearing in a coma. But I don't blame her, because, you know what? Yeah, I rode a motorcycle. She was scared this would happen. I've got no regrets riding a bike. I love bikes. I still do. I promised I won't ride them again, but I still like them. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. But she did said that, you know, the next 5 weeks were just long, and the doctors were always candid with her and saying that we don't know if he's going to wake up, and if he does wake up, we don't know what state he's going to be in. He might never be able to move again. He might never be able to speak. We don't know. All of these unknowns, and you know, she prayed. She did a lot of that. She worked for a church. They did a lot of that as well. But it was just all these unknowns. And then when I woke up, and I remember her walking in through that door, that's when I knew I wasn't dreaming anymore. It was real. But it didn't end there. When I finally came out of hospital, I was dependent on her for months. You know, she couldn't go back to work straight away. There was too much risk of me in the home on my own. I'd only just started to walk again, and my behaviour was all over the show. The social skills, the impulsivity, the disinhibition was so bad, and I was very sensitive to noise. I still am to a degree, but back then, hugely sensitive to noise. If someone was to slam a door out of the blue, that would probably cause me to have a seizure, and I'd just drop to the floor. I didn't deal with stress well, and I had no way of verbalising. People would probably think, oh, it's like an autistic person having a meltdown. It's probably the best way I can describe it. I've got a nephew who's autistic, and I've seen him have a meltdown. Claire videoed me once when I was dealing with a lot of noise, and I went into this frenzy, this screaming frenzy, and I look back at this video now and I don't recognise the person I see. Frankly, it's quite embarrassing, but pacing up and down, swearing, random, just all sorts of random rubbish, and then next thing, killed over on the floor, down there for about a quarter of an hour. I don't remember these instances. That's the really scary part. I do remember coming at them and feeling exhausted, and then probably sleeping for 3 to 4 hours. But I can't imagine that the journey she's been on. I appreciate it's her own journey, and this stressed our marriage. This really pushed our marriage. We at one point she was adamant. She was done, and I thought, is this it? Is this it? And what now? In the end, we agreed that we'd do this emotional skills counselling, which went over about 6 to 7 months, weekly sessions and with homework, and really reassessed how we were communicating with each other, how we were, how we just generally were with each other. And over that course, that's when things began to start improving, and I noticed that, and we've come out the other end of that. Now fast forward to where we are today, another year. You know, I feel that we've actually got a marriage that's quite strong. We've been through this. It's not done that. We sadly lost our son in 2015 as well, and that did destroy us. So got that as well. And now, you know, looking forward to just having our first holiday of sorts in years, which, an extended weekend in York, but York's a very special city for us. And, you know, so we love going. We've got very good friends up there, and actually really excited about just spending that quality time and doing that thing together. But I can't stress that I just can't imagine the journey she has been on, but also the fact that the support she's given me during all of that. And I sometimes think, did I overlook a lot of that in the early days? I sure as hell don't now, but back in the early days, did I take it for granted? I think I probably did. But now I look back and I think she's done so much for me. And actually, in some of the things she's done for me, the encouragement she's always given me as well. You know, she's my best friend. My wife is my best friend, and she's encouraged me to keep pressing on. And, you know, we're still going as a result there. I just think if we can survive what we've been through, then I'd like to think that our marriages can't be shaken now.
If this speaks to you, speak to us. Call our helpline on 0300 330 5488, option 1. Email rictriage@norfolkandwaveneymind.org.uk, or for information and resources along with details of our support services, visit norfolkandwaveneymind.org.uk. Norfolk and Waveney Mind. We are here for you, always.